Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
10 to 6, Friday evening, Tom Swarbrick here on LBC means one thing: fireworks and beer pong at the ready this 4th of July for this show's very own Star-Spangled Banger. Sit back, relax. He'll take it from here. It's Simon Mark's American Week.
Tom, in more ways than one this week, the clock has been ticking for American democracy.
I believe in my soul and heart the American people are ready to turn the page.
On American television, there is no more familiar sound than the ticking of that stopwatch. It is the on-air hallmark of the CBS News programme 60 Minutes. And those were the final seconds of the broadcast's interview with Vice President Kamala Harris last October, 1 month before the country's presidential election.
Well, welcome to Mikasa.
Oh, thank you.
Hi. Hi.
Hello again, Madam
How are
Vice
you?
President. How
Good
are
to
you
see you,
today?
Bill. Very well. Thank you. Very
Thank you
well.
for
Hi,
having us
everyone.
here.
Hi. What a crew.
That bonhomie on display between the Vice President and presenter Bill Whitaker was never supposed to be seen by the public, but is now on the public record after Donald Trump complained about the way in which the interview was edited. And to be clear, CBS did edit it with a knife and fork rather than simply transmitting the full uninterrupted hour. In one part of the interview where the talk turned to the war in Gaza, a major election issue last year, here's the clip that CBS aired.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Declarative stuff, except that answer came from later in the interview. In fact, this is how the Vice President answered the question when it was first posed.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
Meandering, hesitant, uncertain, all over the shop. So there's no question CBS made a mistake by failing to show that to viewers, though others think they were just doing what we always do on radio and TV and editing things for time. But CBS did grudgingly eventually admit the error, and in the closing days of the election campaign, Donald Trump tried to turn the issue to his political advantage.
That's election interference. They're interfering with the election. Am I right? They should lose their license, and 60 Minutes should be taken off the air.
In the intervening months since that campaign appearance last October in Nevada, Trump filed a personal lawsuit against CBS News. Now, legal analysts didn't believe it stood a snowball's chance against the blanket protections of America's First Amendment, constitutionally guaranteeing freedom of speech, especially for the Fourth Estate, the press. This week, in an absolutely stunning development, Paramount, which owns CBS, caved in, abandoning their efforts to defend the very defensible lawsuit and agreeing to give the president $16 million, a simply shameful amount of money.
Today is a dark day for press freedom.
Trevor Timm, the executive director of the Freedom of the Press Foundation, says it's clear why Paramount bent the knee before the president. They're terrified that he could block their $8 billion planned merger with another big media company.
This is all because they reportedly want to grease the wheels for the Trump administration to approve its merger with another megacorporation, Skydance. So they not only threw their own respected journalists under the bus, but opened the door for Trump to target untold number of news outlets next. All told, it will be remembered as one of the most shameful capitulations of a media company to a president in history.
It is not only media conglomerates that are capitulating. Ever since he arrived in the White House, Donald Trump has targeted the country's universities, its law firms, its scientific institutions, and even its performing arts centres. And many of them, like CBS, have decided to prostrate themselves before him. Scores of law firms have paid, in essence, blood money to Trump to save their own federal government contracts. This week, the University of Pennsylvania waved the white flag after the White House froze funding unless the college stopped transgender athletes from competing on female sports teams. It is hard, week by week, to keep up with the amount of surrender that is taking place to an American president willing to use public funds to bring the country's storied institutions to heel.
Donald Trump aspires not only to be an authoritarian, but to be a totalitarian.
Congressman Richie Torres of New York, like so many Democrats, simply providing a commentary to events here rather than very much action that achieves success in pushing back against them.
What he seeks is control not only over the economy, but over civil society. Right? That's why he's targeting law firms. That's why he's targeting universities. He wants every civic, not only federal agencies, but every civic institution to be in his orbit of totalitarian control.
And with every bending of the knee in every corporate office and public institution, it becomes harder to unwind the daily degradation of democracy that is taking place. On Capitol Hill last night,
on this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
A huge win for President Trump, his big, beautiful bill securing the votes to become law. But those Republicans celebrating on the floor of the House last night know they have rolled the dice with the country's future and with their own careers. The law will increase the deficit by an estimated $3 trillion. It will throw as many as 12 million Americans off health insurance, deny food stamps and other nutritional assistance to 4 million Americans, and cost the country's lowest income families an estimated $1,600 a year. That's 4% of their annual income. The wealthy are celebrating $4.5 trillion in extended tax cuts. And for the military and law enforcement, the president is about to deliver manna from heaven. Stand by for a massive expansion in efforts to root out illegal immigrants living in America. ICE, the Immigration, Customs and Enforcement Division of the government, whose masked agents have brought terror to migrant communities nationwide, will soon have a larger budget than the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the U.S. Marshals, the Bureau of Prisons and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms combined.
It's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
The president speaking yesterday afternoon at Andrews Air Force Base.
Biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border. Immigration is covered. We covered just about everything. Again, it's the biggest bill ever signed of its kind.
Of course, size isn't everything, and if economists are right and it proves to be a job killer propelling millions of Americans into poverty and uncertainty, Republican lawmakers will pay at next year's midterm elections. Congressman Troy Niels of Texas celebrating in haste, despite the very real chance that he and his colleagues will end up repenting at leisure.
The American people spoke, and the elected representatives spoke today. And what did we do? We supported and passed this one big, beautiful bill. So now you got to accept it and absorb it because it's the right thing to do for the American people.
President Trump will sign that bill into law at 10 o'clock UK time tonight. His gift to America on the country's 249th birthday. A hostage to fortune, given that we have no idea how Republicans will feel about it by the time the country turns 250. If by then they regret falling victim to a huckster in the White House, well, this week the country was reminded that made-for-TV con men are nothing new in America.
Secular humanism is a diabolical lie. And I want to be a little blunt. Any biologist, any teacher, any educator that teaches evolution, it's a lie. They are a liar. liar and evolution is a lie.
The prehistoric views of the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart, who died this week at the age of 90. In the 1980s, his multi-million-dollar ministry was the biggest name in evangelical TV. He bilked millions of Americans out of their hard-earned dollars, until not once but twice the man of faith was found to have been consorting with prostitutes, which then gave rise to one of the era's most infamous TV confessions.
I have sinned against you, my Lord. And I would ask that your precious blood would wash and cleanse every stain until it is in the seas of God's forgetfulness, never to be remembered against me anymore.
For that, as Mr. Swaggart's obituaries will confirm, more time will have to elapse. But the amazing thing about his story is that many people did stick with him, some of them even thinking he deserved the palatial home, the private jet and the luxury cars.
One more time, please.
Donald Trump this week called Jimmy Swaggart incredible, possibly because, Tom, the late Reverend understood the power of television even before the current president.
When he speaks, he relieves my troubled mind. It's the only voice I...
From Washington, D.C., Simon Marks, 4th of July, American Week.
Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.